I just finished playing The Last of Us Remastered this week, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. People already know that I love the Uncharted franchise. While Uncharted 3 had a lot of problems with the story, Uncharted 1 was great, and Uncharted 2 is one of the best games ever made. It's amazing. So with that in mind, The Last of Us should be just as amazing, right? Well, I'd be lying if I said that to you, because The Last of Us is not a masterpiece. It's a great game, and I think that anybody with a PlayStation console needs to play this game. It's a great experience. But far too many people are saying this game is the best on the PS3, and that it's Naughty Dog's best game. I beg to fucking differ. This game is overrated. Not to the same extent as something like Skyrim, but upon completion, not once did I say, this is the defining game of the generation, because it's not. There are a lot of games that released over the generation that I consider to be superior, and anybody who says this is the best game of all time, has their head so far up their arse they need to be prepped for surgery. 2013 was a year of overrated games anyway. Tomb Raider was massively overrated. The story was alright, and the gameplay was fun at times, but not as good as the combat in Uncharted. Bioshock Infinite was pretty good, but that game had problems too. Maybe I'm just more critical than other people, but I can't overlook serious flaws, which is why I can't say The Last of Us is a masterpiece. The scoring system in itself is flawed, and from now on with my reviews, I'm not going to be assigning scores. But my problem with the reception to The Last of Us isn't just the scores, it's what people are saying. I get pissed off when people say something is an unrivaled masterpiece when it's fucking not. And someone's gonna say to me, but it's a matter of preference. Yeah, to a degree. When I review a game, I do it objectively, not just based on how much fun I had. I had a lot of fun with Titanfall, but there's a big difference between enjoying a flawed game and calling a game flawless. If I was to give this game a score, it'd be an 8 out of 10, which keep in mind is pretty high on my own personal scale. Off the top of my head, I can only think of 2 games I played last year that would have deserved a 9 out of 10. Those were Grand Theft Auto 5 and Phoenix Wright. Oh, the fucking audacity of Fringy giving this game a score lower than 10? How dare he? That's the reaction I'm gonna get. By saying that, everybody is immediately gonna come down on me and say I'm a fanboy of the Xbox brand, despite not owning a fucking Xbox, and being told that I'm a hater of the system that I own. Sound logic, right? Now, this video is going to sound overly negative, mainly because very few people are acknowledging the issues present in this game. You gotta understand that I did enjoy this game immensely. For the most part, I had a blast. Not to the same degree as something like Uncharted 2, which was nearly perfect in my eyes. The point of this video is just to bring people back down to earth and realize that this game is neither perfect, nor was it the best game on the PS3. Uncharted 2 holds that spot for me. Part of the problem is the fact that this is a Naughty Dog game. Naughty Dog are considered to be one of the best developers in the industry, and I don't disagree with this observation. The problem is that Naughty Dog are really only the Sony studio most people give a shit about. You and I probably know about Guerrilla, Ben, Sucker Punch, and all those guys, but when it comes to mainstream recognition, Naughty Dog are top shit, even more so than Santa Monica. Because of this, a lot of Sony fanboys have really latched onto Naughty Dog because whenever they're debating about the consoles, they use Naughty Dog as the trump card. Because of this, people won't want to acknowledge the flaws present in some of their games because they don't want to think Naughty Dog are anything less than perfect and can do no wrong, and when anybody points out the flaws present in some of their games, they get torn to fucking pieces, even if their points are valid. Uncharted 3 proves that Naughty Dog can make mistakes, and how many fucking journalists pointed out those mistakes? Fuck's sake, IGN gave Uncharted 3 a 10 out of 10. A 10 out of 10. What the squirrel spunky fuck? I also think the big problem is that everybody is letting the amazing story overshadow the good but flawed gameplay. I'm going to say this right now, the presentation is nearly perfect, the characters are great, and Ellie is, in my opinion, one of the best characters in any video game, period. Her character is fucking outstanding. The story itself is captivating and the graphics are beautiful. It holds up pretty well on the PS4. And running at 60 frames per second actually helped the gameplay immensely. I swapped it to 30 frames per second and it looked like a fucking slideshow. There are a lot of emotional scenes that actually got to me. I'm not going to spoil it, but the scene just before the game transitions into autumn was fucking excellent. But the gameplay has problems. The gameplay was still solid, but it drags the game down. The gameplay is pretty good for the most part. I like the focus on stealth, and the crafting system was really good. Combat sections felt intense for sure, and a lot of the time it was fun. But the AI is awful. Absolutely terrible. The AI in Uncharted wasn't particularly smart, but this game demands more of the human AI. Too many times the AI would run into the open and stand there getting hit with bullets, or completely forget where I was despite shooting their friend in the face only 15 seconds ago. Fighting against the infected started to become painful when the clickers are able to kill you in one hit if you don't have a melee weapon. This annoyed me because while I was able to die straight away, NPCs were able to hold them off so that I could shoot them. That's fucked. Naughty Dog tend to fuck up their final levels, and that definitely happened here. They seem to confuse difficulty with sheer fucking number of enemies. The last room of this game is just terrible. There are way too many enemies, and if you forgot to save enough supplies through that level, you're fucked. Speaking of level design, shit got repetitive fast. The swimming section sucked ass, and always involved a fucking plank to take Ellie across a gap of water. Obviously the apocalypse spawned an excess amount of ladders, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't just see fucking 2x4s and planks lying around outside. Now, Uncharted had some repetitive parts for sure, but the reason why Uncharted 1 and 2 have great pacing is because of the puzzles. There were drawn out gunfights, but you had time to relax before getting into the thick of it. In The Last of Us, you never know where the enemies are, so you're always on edge and crouching, and you never really get a chance to relax and enjoy the calm atmosphere. The game controls weirdly too, which is probably why people think it's intense. It's intense because you're fucking scrambling to figure out how to equip a new weapon. I ran into this situation all the time. If you don't have more slots for your gun, and you run out of ammo because of fucking weapon sway, with no melee weapon, you need to switch to a new gun quickly. Joel gets on the fucking ground with no urgency to take out a new gun, while 3 clickers charge you. Before you have any time to get the new gun out, the clicker is chewing on your jugular. Game over. Some people would say to me, you didn't prepare enough. Believe me, I did. I was always crouching on the ground and restocking my ammo prior to fights, but the fucking weapon sway made me miss all my shots. The gun sway was just fucking obnoxious. Too many times, I missed shots because the weapon swayed, and with such limited ammo, it seems like a stupid design choice. People would say to me, but that's realistic. Fuck realism. I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't detriment the gameplay for added realism. Could you imagine if you were playing Battlefield and you broke your leg from fall damage and had to fucking hobble across the map? That'd be shit. This wouldn't be so bad if the melee combat wasn't just tapping the square button over and over. I also wish they just used a regular cover system. I hate contextual cover systems in third-person games because they're just clunky. In a first-person game, it makes sense. You can't stick to cover. But in third-person games, you have that option and you should use it. It'd be better if they just used the Uncharted cover system because when you press circle, you're fucking stuck to the wall. This may just come down to personal preference, but the Uncharted gameplay felt so good because you moved fluently. Nathan Drake was always jogging and climbed shit fast. More importantly, the camera could be rotated independently of Drake. In this game, the camera is stuck to where you're facing, which isn't inherently bad. Max Payne 3 did the same thing, but the camera was much further from your face and you could free aim. In The Last of Us, it's tucked so close to you that it's often hard to see shit. I get that this is a survival game, but I hate being constricted, especially when so many infected enemies kill you in one hit. I feel like I have to say this again just to validate my opinion in the eyes of dipshits, but I enjoyed The Last of Us a lot. It's a great game, but it's not a masterpiece and it isn't 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 means fucking perfect or nearly perfect. By nearly perfect, I mean the flaws of the game are either minor or super subjective. In a survival game, a flaw like deficient AI is not a small complaint. I listed a few serious flaws with the gameplay that people seem to overlook just because Naughty Dog is printed on the fucking box. Naughty Dog is my favorite developer. Crash 3 and Uncharted 2 are among my favorite games ever made, but I'm not gonna let my love for the studio overshadow objective criticisms. And whenever anybody has the balls to go against a popular opinion, they're immediately labeled a fanboy of the competition. I know I'm gonna get shit for giving my opinion on The Last of Us because everybody thinks it's amazing. And just because I didn't say this game is the best game ever made, people are gonna give me shit. And I have to ask, who really sounds like the fanboy? The person who thinks this game is great but not a masterpiece and has valid criticisms to back up his opinion? Or the guy who abuses everybody who doesn't say this game is amazing? Think about that.